Hello students, welcome to another video lesson of Notebook. Today we will learn about biodiversity and its conservation. Let us get started. Students, vegetation and the biodiversity directly owe their genesis on the weathering of the mantle. Now, the variation in weathering and their resultant biodiversity is in turn caused by the solar radiation and water. The greater the presence of the two, the more diverse it is. Can you find out which regions of the Earth are equipped with the combination of the maximum solar energy and water? There is already 2.3 to 3.5 billion years of evolution resulting in the change in biodiversity. The human species has led to extinction of other species of plants and animals due to the overuse of resources. 2 to 100 million species vary globally, best estimate being 10 million. Of the species that are discovered, some of them aren't even classified yet. Example, South American freshwater fishes, 40% of them aren't classified. Rich diversity is found in tropical forests. From the perspective of the species and the individual organisms, biodiversity is constantly evolving. The estimated half-life of a species is between 1 to 4 million years. And moreover, 99% of the ones that were once alive are now extinct. The distribution of biodiversity is uneven. It is richer in the tropics, whereas the polar region has fewer species with a larger population. Bio means life and diversity means variety. Thus, biodiversity refers to the variety and number of organisms that are found with a specific geographic area. Varieties of ecosystem, the plants, animals and microorganisms and their genes all constitute the biodiversity. The variability is between species, living organisms as well as the ecosystems. Hence, biodiversity is a living wealth with millions of years of evolutionary history. Now, there are 3 levels of biodiversity. These are genetic diversity. The main building block of various life forms is the genes. Even within species, there is variation of genes. Now, by species, we mean certain similarities of physical traits within a group of individual organisms. Homo sapiens is the group to which human beings genetically belong. Height, appearance, physical appearance, etc. is different, which forms the genetic diversity and helps in breeding of the species population. Species diversity. This means variety of species in a defined area through the richness, types and abundance, and is how it's measured. Some areas are richer than the others. Areas that are rich in species diversity are called hotspots. Ecosystem diversity. We had learned about the various types of ecosystem in our previous chapter, that is, life on Earth. Now, the difference between the diversity of ecological processes and habitats that occur within each ecosystem and the ecosystem type is called the ecosystem diversity. There are no hard-defined boundaries of ecosystem and of communities. Association of species. Thus, the process of demarcation of ecosystem boundaries is very complex and difficult. Students, what is the importance of biodiversity? Human culture and the biodiversity have a mutual relationship of shaping each other. There are 3 major roles of biodiversity. Ecological role. Each species survives for itself and performs specific and varied function in the ecosystem. The species has the task of capturing and storing energy, producing and decomposing organic materials along with cycling water and nutrients throughout the ecosystem. It also fixes the atmospheric gases and regulates the climate. The more varied the species, there would be more diversity, which leads to better adaptability to the environment and thus the chances of survival are higher. Moreover, if there is loss of species, the ability of the system to maintain itself decreases. Economic role. Crop diversity, also known as agrodiversity, is very important for us humans. Biodiversity is thus a reservoir of resource that helps in manufacturing cosmetic products, pharmaceuticals, etc. As a biological resource, it causes saturation of the biodiversity, which often leads to origin of new conflict over the rules of appropriation and division of natural resources. Under economic commodities, crops, food, livestock, forest medicine, fish, etc. can be charted. Scientific role. The species leaves clue to help us understand how life continues, evolves and functions on Earth. In the sustenance of the ecosystem, the species help even as humans are a species. We need to coexist in the harmony with the rest of the species. It is our ethical responsibility towards the planet. It becomes morally wrong to voluntarily kill other species and push them to the verge of extinction. It is thus a good indicator to explore our relationship with other species. The concept of biodiversity is integral for human culture. Let us look at how the loss of biodiversity occurs. Due to the increase in human population, the consumption of resources has increased, leading to exploitation and the loss of species, especially in tropical region, which accommodates 3/4 of human population and 1/4 of the total area. Thus, overexploitation and deforestation happened to fulfill the needs. 50% of the species of the earth is found in the tropical rainforest. The biosphere suffers because of the destruction of the natural habitat. Natural calamities also play a key role along with pesticides, toxic heavy metals and pollutants like hydrocarbons. There are exotic species which are basically not local and natural habitants of an area and are introduced from outside. Endangered category is on a risk. Example, elephants, tigers, crocs, rhinos, minks, which are poached and hunted. IUNC, the International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resource, has 3 categories for conservation. These categories are endangered species, the one which face the danger of extinction. The red list of threatened species is published worldwide. Vulnerable species. Here are the ones which, provided there is continuation of threatening factors, might face extinction in the near future. As the population of these species is reduced, their survival is not assured. Rare species. These species are found over thinly scattered or limited places over wide areas, as their numbers have already been reduced. Try and find out an example from all the 3 types of species. Now, what do we do for conservation of biodiversity? Conservation is important to maintain the balance in the ecosystem, decrease the degradation of the environment, because otherwise it will lead to a threat for the human existence as well. The steps to do the same are: reorient and educate people, make the local communities a part of the conservation process. Local level institutional structures are important. The conservation process needs to be continued and long drawn. In Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, on June 1932, 155 countries, including India, had signed the Convention on Biodiversity, known as the Earth Summit. The steps taken were: endangered species to be protected, proper planning and management to prevent the extinction of species, preservation of varieties of crops, food, plants and forage, timber trees, animals, livestock and their wild relatives. And 4, protection of the habitat of wild relatives be identified by the countries. 5, the young ones of a species and their places of breeding, feeding, resting and nursing be protected. 6, Regulation of international trade in plants and animals. The Government of India passed the Wildlife Protection Act in 1972 to preserve, protect, and propagate within natural boundaries the variety of species. Biosphere reserves, national parks, and sanctuaries were declared and established. Mega diversity centers are some of the countries situated in the tropical region. There are 12 such countries: Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, Ecuador, Madagascar, Democratic Republic of Congo, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, India, and Australia. IUNC has identified these hotspots around the world, which are defined according to the vegetation, that is, the basic productivity is dictated by the plants. The hotspots depend on species-rich ecosystems for firewood, food, cropland, income from timber. Example, in Madagascar, around 85% of the animals and plants of the place are found nowhere else. The pressure on the hotspots is maximum in the wealthy countries. Example, Hawaii Islands, which has unique flora and fauna but is threatened because of the introduction of new species in plants development. With that, students, we come to the end of this video. Keep learning with Notebook. Have a great day ahead. Goodbye.